The Chicago Bulls honor Derrick Rose with an electric fourth quarter you're going to want to hear about right here on Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night, tipping off now.
You are Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night. What's up, guys? I am your host, Gavin Schall, the host of the Locked On Knicks podcast, and filling in tonight for Kuka Heel is the fantastic co-host of the Locked On Lakers podcast, Andy Kamenetzky. And Andy, it's sort of the perfect night for us to be hosting together. We get to talk about the Celtics losing in horrifically painful fashion. We get to talk about the Knicks winning, the Lakers winning. Man, this week we couldn't have written this any better.
Interesting night, man. Very interesting night in the association, as the nights often are.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. We're going to start off in Chicago. What an electric experience there. But first, we want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. All right, only one place we can start. Kevin Huerter 3 with 0.2 of a second to go. Pushes the Chicago Bulls past the Boston Celtics. Celtics were trying to pull off their second straight miraculous win after beating the Brooklyn Nets in double overtime the previous night. But this Bulls team, on a night where Derrick Rose gets honored with his jersey retirement, great interview with him on ESPN and Mike Breen in the fourth quarter. Chicago just kept landing punches down the stretch of this game.
Yeah, and there were a lot of past Bulls in the crowd. Derrick Rose was obviously a really, really popular player when he was a member of the Bulls. That was the MVP season, and it's always fun to celebrate those legends for the fans. It's also it's fitting that they would relive the glory days in Chicago with Derrick Rose on a night where this win actually pushes them, Gavin, above 500. Like, the Bulls are looking, I don't want to say they're looking like a semi-respectable team for the season, because who the hell really knows what they're even trying to be. They are their typical 9 seed, which seems to be their safe space. But, I mean, for a night, this was really, really fun for Chicago. And you get a sense that the current players really did not want to in any way spoil this night for Derrick Rose with a loss.
No, there was palpable energy in the building, and the way they were able to just keep landing counter punches throughout that fourth quarter, like Nikola Vucevic, a couple of big plays to open the fourth. Patrick Williams, a sneaky, awesome season from distance, 46% from 3 this year, hits 2 in a row, like one to give the Bulls the lead back, another one the Celtics go up, gives them the lead back again, plays off that, like Buzelis pick and roll, draws 3, spray to him, Derek White, like signature, stole it from Luke Cornett. Like tried to go for the eclipse closeout, goes flying past him. And Pat Williams just toasts that closeout, shoots in for a dunk. You had a Buzelis transition 3. You had Giddey, one of his 2 shots on the night that gave them a 3-point cushion. But down the stretch, it was 2 things, because the offense, like the gears kind of got churned up a little bit. Kobe White checked back in, and it felt like they had a little bit of a better rhythm with Ayu Dosunmu in there, a little bit of ambiguity. Like, all right, should it be Giddey with the ball? Should it be White with the ball? And he was forced, like, late shot clock, to throw up just a couple of terrible shots. And then you had that 2-play sequence where he misses a bully ball layup. Jalen Smith somehow misses the tip dunk. Jaylen Brown comes down on the other end and ties it. It would have been a Celtics lead at that point, except Jalen Smith on back-to-back possessions just shut down Jaylen Brown, who we'll talk about, had another exceptional game on drive, steal, diving on another one where he forced him to a tough shot. And then finally, the winner that we're talking about, Giddey White pick and pop, Hauser and Hugo Gonzalez, who was awesome in this game, both linger on Josh Giddey. He's able to swing it to Kobe White. Derek White blitzes him. Extra in the corner to Huerter, who Mike Breen noted this on the broadcast, but just 31% from 3 on the season. Big moment for him. Big moment for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, it has not been a typical Kevin Huerter season from behind the arc, but he's also somebody that you're never going to feel comfortable leaving open, because you know that at any moment he's capable of doing it. I mean, that is the reason Kevin Huerter's in this league in the first place. It's to make those type of shots. I don't care if he's 0 for whatever for like a week behind the arc, he's somebody that you're always going to feel like is dangerous in those moments, and he proved it tonight.
Such a cool night for Chicago, a city that hasn't had a lot of great basketball moments over the last decade. This was one of them, and I'm glad their fans could appreciate it. But let's get the Celtics' perspective. They've had plenty of great moments. They didn't need another one. Let's see what John Corrales has to say.
I had no expectations for the Celtics in this game, so I'm impressed at the fact that they even had a chance. They had plenty of chances to win this, so it does go down as a tough loss on their third game in 4 nights and really a 2-week-long road trip, even though they had one brief stopover at home. I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast. You can start and end this conversation with the Bulls going 21 of 45 from 3, 6 more than the Boston Celtics, and a 3-point loss. The Celtics won a lot of these margins that normally go well for them. They took 99 shots, 14 more than the Bulls. They turned the Bulls over 15 times and got 18 points out of it while protecting the ball themselves. The free throws were even. It's just that 3-point shooting. And really at the end, the second chance points, even though the Celtics won the second chance points, it was in the fourth quarter, their inability to get late rebounds, but a tough one. Look, like I said, the Celtics were exhausted. And if they get even a decent shooting night from Derrick White, they win this game. If they get a decent shooting night from 3, they win this game. If the Bulls don't go ballistic and shoot almost 50% from 3, they win this game. So it's a tough loss, but look, the Celtics go home. They get a few games at home. Maybe they can get some rest. Much more coming up on a bonus Locked On Celtics podcast.
Andy, what did you see in this one from Boston?
First of all, I hope that John Corrales was going for the pun when he said that the Bulls went ballistic from behind the arc.
That's good.
That's just chef's kiss. I think John made a really good point about just how unusual it is for the Celtics to lose a game on the 3-point line margins. Like, that's so much of their attack and their effectiveness, and the reason that they've been having a much better season than people expected is that strength from behind the arc. And tonight it wasn't there, and it really came back to bite them with Chicago shooting much better than you would expect there. It's got to be frustrating to only turn the ball over 6 times and not end up winning a game. Like, that's exceptionally good work taking care of the ball. It's also got to be kind of frustrating to ultimately not cash in on a night like this from Jaylen Brown. 33 points, 14 of 28 from behind the arc, 8 rebounds, 5 assists against just 2 turnovers. And you know that he has the ball in his hands a lot, high usage. So he really avoided problems with carelessness, things like that. They are probably, to John's point, tired. 3 games in 4 nights, that'll wear on you. And the emotion of a night like this is going to be fueling Chicago, with the Derrick Rose jersey, but also too, that's something that the Celtics have to fight against. I don't think it's anything for Boston to worry about, like big picture. Again, they are seemingly well ahead of what anybody expected they can do, and we'll see what happens when Jason Tatum comes back. It's just got to be frustrating when a lot of things you did pretty well and you still can't cash in on it.
No, it's been an incredible season for the Celtics, and the combination of Brad Stevens' ability to put a roster together on a margins, like a front court that even John, I remember on a short earlier this season on Locked On NBA Game, I was saying really had no business being the front court of a team that was making the playoffs, much less a top 2 seed. But Joe Mazzulla just consistently finds a way to put lineups together that complement each other's strengths and weaknesses almost flawlessly. Like, I really look to, like, Anthony Simons was a guy on the fringes. Everyone assumed he was going to get traded, and maybe even by now be off this team. And instead, he's just had an awesome month, 16 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 46% from the field, 45% from 3 in January on high volume, continues to add to that, 21 points, 5 threes in this one. Combination of that elite first step and his shooting ability. And it's such an interesting discrepancy between the Simons White backcourt and the Simon and the White Holiday backcourt. I mean, White and Holiday were just so overwhelming, smothering defensively. But Simons and White are also just exceptionally complementary. Like, the combination of Simons, explosiveness and shooting and what he can do off the dribble with White, who's just so solid in all facets, obviously a special defender. They really work well together. And the Celtics, like in that fourth quarter, as they were battling back, you saw Joe Mazzulla, this like a real pet play of Boston's, run like a couple of Spain pick and rolls where you screen for the screener, and those two just playing in conjunction off. It was beautiful. There was a stretch where White had 3 straight assists, like hitting Keita for a layup, zipping one to Walsh for a layup, a 3 next possession, another assist, and an offensive rebound and a layup, like almost single-handedly keeping them afloat. Only note on Jaylen Brown, one of the best layups I've ever seen, where he had like an inside, for people who didn't watch the game or the highlights, inside spin move, and one where he was essentially out of balance as he shot the ball. His inside hand, he somehow kept on the right side of the backboard, and he throws it off the top of the backboard, just kisses off and in. It was dirty. All NBA caliber season.
I was just about to say, it's not just all NBA candidacy. I think he's having an first team all NBA type of candidacy. I mean, he's a lock to be, short of an absolute collapse post All-Star break, or knock on wood, it doesn't happen, an injury. He's a lock to make the all NBA team. Like, that's not even a discussion, but he is in the conversation for first team all NBA. And he is, I think, more than anybody else, the reason that Boston's been able to stave off this season that a lot of people thought would be a bridge year with, without Jason Tatum for most, maybe all of it, we'll see, but he's just been incredible.
Yeah. Awesome season. But when we come back, we got to get to our talk Knicks Sixers. We're going to talk Lakers Mavs, whole lot of stuff coming on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. They are the number one place to get tickets, and there's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy of the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. Pulling up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game, and you'll have tickets locked in within minutes. My favorite is very few things bother me in life, like, I don't know, buying tickets, like let's just say quality NBA tickets for a group of 5 or 6 people. On other apps, you can get to the end and it could be $250 more than you expected it to be. With Game Time, there are no surprise fees at checkout. You factor in being able to see the view from your seat before buying the tickets. That makes the decision so much easier. Their zone deals are awesome. You choose a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save. They're just an incredible last-minute option to buy tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. All right, what's up, guys? We're back here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Gavin, Schall, Andy Kamenetzky, bring it to you from both coasts. Whole lot of fun. Speaking of fun, the New York Knicks, after losing 9 of their last 11, have now won 2 in a row. Hard-fought victory over the Philadelphia 76ers. Andy, I know I have a lot of thoughts on this game. What did you see in this one from New York, and a spirited comeback from Philly in the fourth quarter?
To me, what jumped out most in terms of that second half and turning things around is the effect of Mitchell Robinson. And just in the beginning, the defense that he had against Joel Embiid, and after Karl Anthony Towns got into foul trouble, had to leave the game pretty early into the third quarter. He played
16 minutes in this game, which is crazy. In a game you don't get injured. Yeah.
He was dealing with a lot of foul trouble throughout this game. Like when he came back in after the fourth foul, he immediately picked up his 5th, had to sit again. But Mitchell Robinson, his defense against Joel Embiid, I thought had an immediate impact. Embiid scored 28 points in the first half. He didn't score until 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. A lot of that was Mitchell Robinson. And then also his rebounding, the scoring around the glass, I thought was really big. I thought Josh Hart was really big in the fourth quarter. It's also going to be interesting. I think this is the type of game that Gavin, fair or not, is going to continue driving the narrative that Karl Anthony Towns is the problem for the Knicks, or a problem, or a reason that they can't get past a certain level. Again, fair, unfair, a game like this where they looked so much better without Cat on the floor, and they made this huge run flipping the game with Cat sitting. And Cat made a couple nice plays down the stretch of this game, but they really got back into it. While I'm not going to say, I almost said because he was sitting, that may not be fair, but I know it's how a lot of Knicks fans and a lot of people who cover the league are going to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, he sits and they immediately rip off a 15-0 run that turned into a 24-4 run. And it's fascinating because I've discussed all season. I think the Knicks ceiling comes in two forms. It is having this ability. I don't even want to say to devolve because it's a great place to be, but to play like they did 2 years ago. And still the peak version of this Knicks team, at least in my tenure covering this podcast, was the second half of that 23-24 team after they traded for OG Anunoby, and you this beautiful conjunction of like, all right, you can play really high level ISO ball between Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. You have one of the best shooters in basketball in Dante DiVincenzo. You have elite offensive rebounding in Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart. You have elite defense between Hartenstein, Anunoby, and Quinn Grimes and some of the tertiary pieces on this team. And it's just such a complete roster. And since Hartenstein left, they haven't really been able to find that balance. This third quarter, and there were moments certainly last year in the playoffs when Mitchell Robinson came back, but this was just about the closest we've come, maybe along with the NBA Cup championship, to seeing that where they just absolutely like break an opposing team. And even in the first half when the Knicks were struggling, they out offensive rebound Philly 10-1. They finished this game with a 19-5 advantage on the offensive glass. And they were, to your point, just overwhelming. And the combination of, all right, Jalen Brunson's going off. You have to divert 2 on some possessions, 3 defenders to chasing him. You have Landry Shamet and Deuce McBride. Shamet's only been back a couple games. Deuce did not shoot well in this one. But in general, both guys who have reputations as dead-eye shooters. Those are hard closeouts. You have to scramble. Those two have an ability to beat the closeout, make the next pass. And your defense is so discombobulated. And then you have 2 of the all-time greats in terms of offensive rebounding at their respective positions in Robinson and in Hart crashing. It makes things so difficult on another team.
And even if you want to say, well, of course the Knicks beat the Sixers on the offensive glass, that margin, because Philadelphia shot 51% from the field, so they're not going to have as many offensive rebound opportunities. Fine. They still out-rebounded the Sixers, period, 53-38. Like, that was a massive part of this game. They just owned the glass on both ends of the floor, and they just looked like the more physical team. They looked like, particularly in that second half, the team that was just able to control things more.
Yeah, they were overwhelming. They still have to figure out that 5-out style with Cat. I would recommend starting Deuce McBride. He currently has a net rating 8 points better than anyone else on the team. I think things could start to look better for Cat. Cat is shooting the ball better of late, so that is a good sign for the New York Knicks. But let's real quick get the Sixers perspective on this one from Mark Farzetta of Locked On Sixers.
76ers lose a rough one to the New York Knicks, 112-109, a game that wastes a historic start from Joel Embiid, who scored 28 of his game-high 38 points in the first half alone. But Embiid and the rest of his Sixers teammates, unfortunately, went ice cold in the third quarter, managing just 13 points in the entire quarter to the Knicks' 30 points in the third. Sixers were actually down 17 points with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and managed to make a game of it, but just couldn't get that big shot to put them in front. Sixers really came down to rebounding, unfortunately. They were out-rebounded by the Knicks 53-38, and on the offensive glass alone, out-rebounded 19-6 in the game. Sixers go just 2-4 on this 6-game homestand.
Embiid performance extremely encouraging for Philly. The Knicks nearly had an all-time collapse in this fourth quarter. It almost felt like Jalen Brunson had some money on the Sixers money line. Got tied up, fouled Edgecombe on a jump ball, misses 2 free throws at the end of the game, which I can only remember him doing one other time in his Knicks career. Like, the Knicks were up 8 with 40 seconds left, and Philly had nearly multiple chances to win the game at the end. Knicks hold on. But when we come back, Andy, we got to get to your Lakers because they had a fantastic fourth quarter after Dallas dominated long stretches of the second half. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about so much else next on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, we got to talk about our good friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels just a little bit bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, what up? We're back to wrap up a Saturday night edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Andy, I'm going to clear out just like LeBron does so often for Luka Doncic. Man, it's time for you to cook. Tell me how the Lakers won this game and how their defense that has really been struggling of late. I thought a lot of big plays down the stretch of this one.
Yeah, the Lakers were up by double digits at halftime, but then the third quarter was just this really bad cocktail of turnovers. They had 7 in the third quarter, and they were really just bad decision turnovers, as opposed to, not trying to take away from Dallas, but it was much more about what the Lakers were doing badly than what Dallas was doing well. JJ Redick said that they missed 3 layups in the third quarter. I can think of a sequence where it felt like DeAndre Ayton missed 3 just in there was a sequence where DeAndre Ayton missed, I think, 3 or 4 putback opportunities in one sitting. Like, DeAndre Ayton really struggled around the basket in this game. They scored just 14 points in the third quarter, and the Mavericks were really good at cashing in on those misses, running off turnovers, running off mistakes. And the fourth quarter actually got off to a pretty bad start for the Lakers as well. And it wasn't looking in like they were going to actually be able to pull this thing out until the fourth quarter. They really started cranking up their defense, started creating more disruption. Rui Hachimura had some big shots down the stretch, including a 4-point play where he was fouled after faking a pass, and then he got the defender out of position. The defender should have realized Rui's not going to pass like that. Like, you need to know your personnel well enough to know, just stay right there. He's not giving up the ball, but he had some big shots down the stretch. Marcus Smart had some big shots and some really big plays on both ends. Just hustle, energy, big offensive rebound putback. LeBron, I believe, had 11 points in the fourth quarter. He was one of the guys that was smoking a lot of layups early on, but fourth quarter was big. Luka Doncic was big in the fourth as well. And once they got the game under control in the fourth quarter, you could just feel like Dallas was not going to be able to do anything to turn it back around. And really, a lot of this was just the Lakers getting out of their own way, because the third quarter and the opening 4 minutes or so of the fourth, they were so bad. They was just like, it was one stepping on a rake after another.
Yeah, Mavs opened the second half. I think it was an extended, if my math was like 41-14 run. Big swing play with, I think it was about 3-4 minutes left. Cooper Flag gets a steal, tries to go coast to coast. He dunks that home. It is a 10-point lead for Dallas. It seems like they're cruising to a finish. Instead, Marcus Smart gets back. Flag was calling for a foul. It looked like a pretty clean strip from Marcus Smart, a guy, Cooper Flag, big Celtics fan, presumably grew up watching and rooting for, now gets to complain about the NBA refs. How cool is that? Jake LaRavia hits a 3 on the other end, and that set up the sequence you were talking about. Hachimura, 4-point play, and then that Luka drive, draw 3, totally under control, no look, behind the back spray out to LeBron, extra to Hachimura for 3. Yep. I haven't gotten a chance to watch a ton of Lakers this year. It was so cool to watch LeBron in the fourth quarter, like really pick his spots, but a couple of huge defensive plays like that pick 2 he had where like he ripped it away. I can't remember. I think it was Brandon Williams, maybe push dribble, coast to coast for a jam. Like maybe not quite the same power on it, but just vintage LeBron James. So that was
LeBron still now, at least, if not every game, every other game, but I'd say it's closer to every game, throws down a dunk that reminds you that this dude can still, like you said, he has to pick his spots, but when he wants to turn it on, he's still pretty capable of doing it. He can't do it over four quarters at this stage, understandably, because he's 41. You have to work around that. But every now and then, man, you watch what he does. It's like, damn, like that is a 41-year-old man throwing down in traffic with force. It's pretty amazing.
It's incredible. Let's get the Dallas perspective real quick from our guy, Nick Angstad, who was at this one.
Luka Doncic's second return to the American Airlines Center ended in ways many of his games as a Maverick ended. The Mavs go on a crazy third quarter run, hold the Lakers only 14 points. The Mavs were absolutely bonkers in that quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, they just couldn't get any offense going at all. The Mavs struggled mightily. And when your offensive engines are Cooper Flagg, Max Christie, and Najee Marshall, there's some games where they look really awesome. There's some games where they're just running. And then the Mavs half-court offense just completely falls to a halt sometimes. They can only score in transition, and when the game slows down in the fourth quarter, that's where they're going to struggle. That's how the Mavericks have racked up so many clutch losses so far this season. But Cooper Flagg, 16 points, 7 boards, 6 assists. He was only 7 of 20 for the field, struggled to really get his shot off at good times, did hit a 3. Max Christie, 24 points, took 18 shots. The Mavs need him to be a volume shooter. He's been one of their best shooters this season. Shout out to Caleb Martin, 17 points on 10 shots. Caleb Martin has really come along these last couple of weeks. His return, lots of love from Mavericks fans. We had a sign that said "Come home" in the middle of his free throw shots. You had MVP chants during his free throws. You had incredible love for Luka. Way less angst or frustration or anger in this game compared to the last time Luka returned to the AAC. Wonder why that was.
Fun game. Better vibes, hopefully.
By the way, too, shout out really quick to Nick Angstad for in a tribute to his boy coming home, getting the exact same haircut as Luka. Like they really, it's uncanny the way he did a hair tribute to Nick Angstad. Good stuff.
We'll know when he has the drop down Cooper Flagg hair. He's officially over it. But let's head over to Cleveland, where the Cavaliers, led by Donovan Mitchell, just shredding the Magic's defense with that high pick and roll with Jared Allen. Incredible shot making, incredibly high skill level throughout for him. 36 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. Danny Cunningham has the latest from Cleveland.
Cavaliers win their third straight game with a 119-105 victory over the Orlando Magic on Saturday night. And this was a really gritty, really impressive win for the Cavs. Wasn't always the prettiest, but they got a lot of good efforts from guys that they can't necessarily normally count on, guys that are not necessarily always in the rotation. I thought this may have been Lonzo Ball's best game of the year. Tyrese Proctor played some really big minutes off the bench. Thomas Bryant did some really good things. It just goes on and on down the list. And that's why ultimately on the second night of a back-to-back, traveling from Cleveland to Orlando in the middle of the night, the Cavs were able to find a way to get a win against a good team in Orlando. Oh, and by the way, Donovan Mitchell was incredible as well. He had 36 points, 17 of which came in the fourth quarter to really take the Cavs home. But the Cavs, despite the fact that they're still not healthy, they were without 4 rotation players in this game. No Darius Garland, no Sam Merrill, no Max Strus. DeAndre Hunter was a late scratch with a knee injury. They found a way to win. They've now won 5 of their last 6. They've won 10 out of 14. And don't look now, the Cavs are starting to play some good basketball. At least they're starting to climb up the standings in the Eastern Conference. If they get healthier, things might change for the better. But as of right now, I think any win is a good win in Cleveland.
And Andy, story of 2 disparate Eastern Conference contenders, the Orlando Magic. I was texting with Philip Rossman-Reich, who's at a wedding, wasn't able to submit a short for this one, but he was saying like he's not too sure Jamal Mosley's going to have a job at the end of the year. It feels like something we've talked about this pod a couple of times. They might have a Paolo Banchero problem. Just coming into this one, 24th in the NBA net rating over their last 10. Every time like they get healthy, like Franz came back, Suggs got hurt, Suggs came back this game. Franz is hurt, and the quote from Jamal Mosley, like, I hope it's not a long-term thing. I don't really know. We're trying to situate ourselves best for the long term. We have to be careful, like yada, yada, yada. Like it is, I don't know what the confluence of those 3 factors are, but this is a team that just has not had a lot of luck from a health perspective over a couple seasons, an immense amount of talent, a lot of promising young pieces, a great defensive culture. It has not all come together the way Orlando fans thought it would this year.
No, not at all. And they've needed to try to gel around the big new piece of Desmond Bane, and having guys in and out of the lineup has just made that really difficult. Like I feel like this is an interesting matchup tonight, Cavs Magic, just in the sense that both of these teams have spent a lot of this season trying to figure out what's going on with them, like who they are, how do we build any type of real sustained momentum. Like Danny said, maybe the Cavs have landed on that. But even then, it starts raising the questions of, you've been winning without Darius Garland. What does that mean for his future moving forward? Like that, there's always been, I know they had a really good season last year, but there have been these questions about, have they maximized that roster? Would they have to make a trade? If they make a trade, Darius Garland feels maybe like the most expendable of their 4 biggest players, but what is his trade value going to be if, he keeps getting injured, he keeps having these toe issues? And then with Orlando, like I've always found Orlando this incredibly intriguing team, really interesting to watch because they're unusually constructed. Like they have so much of their playmaking set up through their front court, and so much, they're unusually constructed. And, they've relied on Suggs and Anthony Black in the past to be more of defensive presences than truly playmakers or definitely shooting. And Desmond Bane, I think, was supposed to come in and be a bridge in a lot of different ways to provide that shooting, to provide playmaking, to bring a little bit more balance to that roster. And for a variety of reasons, it just hasn't clicked. The idea of Jamal Mosley being, maybe lacking job security, I get it. We're not that far removed from him being really celebrated as a great young coach, that the Magic really landed a great one with that hiring. And I'm not close enough to the situation to know whether or not it's premature or to think about firing him, or whether another voice would be needed. It just speaks to how quickly this stuff can turn. And frankly, Cavaliers fans know this because they had the same thing with Bickerstaff. And, he was really celebrated. Or excuse me, Kenny Atkinson really celebrated until he wasn't.
Yeah, it is tough right now. I mean, I think if they're healthy come playoff time, they are a team you just don't want to see, because you might get out of that series, because the Celtics learned last year you're going to get out of it limping, and it's going to affect you in the next series. Donovan Mitchell, I'll say it one more time, like when they run the pick and roll with him and Jared Allen 40 feet from the basket, and you have like any combination of Jalen Tyson, Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, or when he's healthy, Garland out there, like I don't really know how you guard it. Like it's just too much space. He can shoot from 30. He's as explosive as anyone in the league. That high signature high pickup move he pulled on Paolo Banchero into the lefty scoop layup at the end of the game. He is just impossibly talented. It is him and Anthony Edwards in terms of 2 guards, like kind of in a category of their own, just from a sheer like depth of skill, talent perspective. They're both crazy. But the Washington Wizards started a historically young lineup today. Let's hear from Ben Strober how that went against the Charlotte Hornets.
Wizards fall to the Charlotte Hornets 119-115. That's the 3rd time they've lost to the Hornets this year. But it was the Trey Johnson show. The former number 6 overall pick showed exactly why he was picked that high in the draft. Excellent day shooting the basketball. Career high in points with 26 and assists with 6 for Trey Johnson. He was letting it fly all night. And now that you finally have Washington offensively starting to cater the offense to be centered around him getting as many shots as possible, that is what you love to see. 22 shot attempts for Trey Johnson in this game. Another good performance from Alex Sarr as well. He had 24 points tonight. Bub Carrington had 15. Really great contributions from Justin Champagnie, who had a double-double off the bench. All in all, for a team that is not focused on winning a lot of games right now, they've been a lot more competitive as of recent. That is 9 losses in a row, though, for this Wizards team. AJ DeBonsta had 43 tonight, so Wizards fans are definitely watching that.
One of 3 freshmen with 40 plus. Good day for Wizards fans, I guess. The Miami Heat become the latest team to just pour it on against the Utah Jazz. 147-116. Bam Adebayo can shoot now. 6 threes last Saturday, 4 threes this Saturday. Certainly something to watch. Golden State, Minnesota, obviously postponed today due to the horrific shooting in Minnesota, and our hearts certainly go out to everyone there. But until next time, he's Andy Kamenetzky. Check out all of his fantastic work over at Locked On Lakers. I'm Gavin Schall. Check me out over at Locked On Knicks, and we'll talk to you soon.